Today on the show, we have a truly talented individual who served in the Marine Corps for around 22 years and on various deployments abroad. And he basically taught himself to make movies. And now he's an award winning screenwriter. And he's going to share a lot of the tricks of the trade and his experience in this podcast. So please welcome Michael Droberg. Hey, Michael, how you doing?
Good, man. Pleasure to be here.
Are you based in North Carolina at the moment?
Yes, North Carolina, USA.
Okay, the more I find out about you, the more fascinating your story is. So before we start talking about the process of making movies, I just want to talk about how you transitioned from the army into film production. So on you go.
Well, it was actually the Marine Corps. I did 22 years in the Marine Corps. I joined when I was 17, and due to injuries, I had to retire at 39. So I did 22 years. And to be honest, it was I was in a dark place after I retired because I was kind of like lost. You know, you had people you were in charge with, people rely on you for decisions, and going from that to nobody cares anymore about what you think or what you're doing. So it was very hard for me. But fortunately, I found writing as a way to relax my mind and just ease into the civilian world. So that's one of the reasons why I started writing.
What was it you were doing in the military, if you can share?
I was in maintenance and logistics. So my last shop before I retired, we were in charge of fixing communications equipment for different units to make sure communications was up, and we were in charge of fixing radar too for artillery systems. So really nothing to do with writing. It was very technical and logistical in nature.
And so what was it about writing that you found relaxing for your mind?
I mean, I'm a very imaginative person. Life is hard. Situations are hard. I had gotten injured, and at the same time, my youngest son Samuel, he was born with Down syndrome, so that was very depressing to me. So I just needed a way to just get my mind off things here, and read. Some people read, some people watch TV, some people play video games to get their minds off things. And me, I just found writing kind of put me in an imaginary world in a different place. So basically, that's how I started writing, and from there, I just started visioning scenes. Like, how do you write a scene for a movie? Because the formatting for a book versus screenwriting is completely different. So I just started doing research, and eventually, I wrote my first screenplay.
So did you write any fiction before the screenplay?
No, I wrote a lot of awards in the military, a lot of technical writings as far as equipment and processes on how to fix things. But in 2016 when I retired, that was really the first time I did creative writing. So it's been a trial by fire.
And I agree with what you're saying with, like, it makes your mind relaxing in a sense that when you're writing something, I find it's almost better than watching a movie because you're sort of inside the creative process. And it's even more exciting than, say, writing or reading a book where you're reading someone else's writing and putting that down onto your mind canvas and experiencing it. But when you're actually creating something, it's in a different level to even just watching movies or reading someone else's books.
Yeah, for sure, because you're in control of the story. So you're in control of the hero. You're in control of the villain, the situation at hand. So it's pretty amazing. I enjoy it very much. I even now I enjoy reading screenplays more than watching a movie, and if it's a good screenplay. For example, the Book of Eli with Denzel Washington. That's one of my favorite movies, but the screenplay by Gary Whitta, I mean, there's details in the screenplay that are not in the movie that it's just, I like the screenplay much better than the actual movie,
How do you balance writing versus not writing because you want to make sure you got all the things correct and the plot sequenced?
So you got to do your homework first before you, like you said, invest all this time writing a story that may not pan out or make sense in your mind, but after you put it down on paper, maybe it doesn't make sense. So there's a really good book if you're interested in screenwriting, and it's the best book in my opinion. It's called Save the Cat. by Blake Snyder.
Save the cat.
Part in the book that talks about a beat sheet, 15 story beats that pretty much every good story has these beats. If you're writing action, you want to start off with an action scene or something like that. If you're writing a drama, it's going to be sad and slow. So it starts off opening image, the theme stated. What is the theme of your movie? Is it revenge? Is it action adventure? Is it redemption? Stuff like that. And this book breaks it down for you, and you can pretty much use it for any genre. And as long as you have most of those beats, your story will pan out. That's what I've found, at least.
I'm looking at your website right now. It's you've got on there like some award-winning writer. So how do you get from the point where he says, "I want to start writing screenplays" to winning awards?
Well, so the first screenplay I wrote was called The 12, which was about the apostles post Jesus Christ, right after he left this earth. Then the next one, someone said, well, you have a pretty interesting story. You have, you did 22 years in the Marine Corps. You have a son with Down syndrome. So why don't you write about that? So that's what I did. I wrote a screenplay called My Son Sam, which was a fictionalized version of my life and, raising a kid with Down syndrome. And I just entered that into a contest to see how I did. I entered into Scriptapalooza, I think in 2017. Yeah, 2017 or 18. And I ended up placing top 10 out of 3,400. So from that moment on, I decided, well, maybe this is not just a hobby. Maybe this is something I should pursue. And that's pretty much from that point when I took screenwriting serious and started, doing it full time.
This is the biggest project you're trying to work on now or get investment for now?
I guess Star of Africa is, because we have actors like John Connie and Eric Bana interested. I don't have any A-list actors attached to any of my other projects, so I guess that would be the biggest one right now that's got a lot of hope. But it seems like funding is always the stopping point, and Corona, didn't help things. So, but I'm hopeful about this one. We got a lot of interest. It's going under a rewrite right now with another screenwriter. So we'll see. And that happens a lot too. This is the second project where I wrote the first draft, and then a producer likes it. He likes the idea. He likes the writing, but then he's going to take it to his people, and usually they have their own screenwriter, and that person's going to tweak it or change it a little bit. And I'm not insulted by that. That's the way it works. Screenplays and movies are very subjective. So, it seems like that's the nature of the business.
Because right now there's just so much content being produced. I mean, you could literally go on to Amazon Prime and watch fresh content 24 hours a day, and you wouldn't get through it. I mean, maybe not 24 hours a day, but you could certainly watch 4 or 5 hours a night of something, and you never have to watch it twice. But when I was younger, we'd watch movies 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. I think I'd watched Independence Day 15 times. I pretty much knew every line. Batman Forever was one of the movies I watched, because basically you'd be a bit naughty and you'd record it off of some TV program or someone else's one, and you would you wouldn't have a streaming service, and you wouldn't have the money, because we grew up really, really poor, so I couldn't really afford to rent movies. So I just ended up watching. I have a little collection of 20 bootlegged or recorded off the TV movies that I watched again and again and again. But now it's just unbelievable the amount of content you have, and really high quality content.
Yeah, Netflix and Amazon and Hulu, all those people are streaming services are changing the game. I mean, I don't think the theaters are ever going to bounce back. I mean, maybe they will a little bit, but not to the level they used to be. I mean, people with Corona, with the price of tickets, people just rather watch it at their home TV, which is good for the writers, because they're, like you said, there's all these channels, and they need content. They need new content. So it's not like back in the 90s where maybe there was only 10 to 20 movies released a month, for theatrical purposes. Now, every month there's probably hundreds that channels need.